Hey, welcome everybody to Cue the Next Leader. I'm super excited to be here today with Michael Hopkins, our Chief Experience Officer here at
Hello.
VINCUE.
Good to see you, Angela.
We just recently came home from our Unleashed conference,
We did.
uh,
Right
which,
here.
yeah, it's
Feels
right
like we're
here.
feels like we're back at the Lowe's.
Feels like we're still there. And, it was amazing. It was our first customer conference, but it was your baby, your brainchild. So can you tell us about it?
Yeah, a little bit. So for those of you who weren't there, Unleashed was, as she mentioned, our very first ever dealer and partner community event. We really want this to be an automotive community event. We had it November 13th through the 15th. We were at the beautiful Lowe's Hotel and Convention Center here in Kansas City. Thank you to everyone who came out. We had about, I don't know, something like 48 dealers from 35 dealerships. We had just over 12 industry sponsors, and then a handful of keynote speakers. The theme was innovate from the front line. So for us, innovating from the front line means aligning people, process, and technology to solve problems, optimize performance for people actually doing the work on the lot every single day. So that's true innovation. We had some amazing speakers, we had some amazing panels, trainings, and then even a presentation from Danny and Chris where they shared some pretty secret information about the future of VinCue product, which was very exciting.
So it's important for people to, come to these events because you get some insider's knowledge,
You
right?
get some insider knowledge. You also give a lot of feedback because right after the presentation from Danny and Chris, obviously we went to our dealers and we asked them to come up with requirements for new features, enhancements, things that they'd like to see in the product. Which I'm not allowed to share exactly which ones are coming yet, but I do know that some of them are already in development, so we'll be releasing those pretty soon.
So I had a few favorite speakers. I mean, I was excited to be there, and I'd like to know who your favorite speakers were.
So the speakers were amazing. I'm going to name a couple because they're worth naming. We had Coach Donnie Campbell, who's the real life Ted Lasso, spoke about leadership. That was really amazing. We had our good friend Glenn Lundy, Tim Cox, had a good friend of mine, Bill Donius, and then as well as Danny gave a keynote too. But I think to me the most impactful speakers that we have were our own people. We asked our performance managers, some of our onboarding folks, and Josh Van Aken, our product manager, stand up and present on different things. And it was the first time that some of those guys had been in that role, stood in front of a room and presented. And rightfully probably were a little nervous ahead of time, but they really killed it. They did an amazing job. They shared some of the features that they love that some of our dealers don't use. We had a lot of dealers turn on features right there in the conference because they already had access to it. They just weren't using it. It was really exciting. And then they did a panel where they talked about the different strategies behind our recommendations. Obviously we do our monthly PM calls, and those are really, really important, but we talked about kind of the thinking behind where some of the coaching comes from. And then ending up with Josh, as I mentioned, our product manager, who talked about our development process, the idea of how do you go from end user requirements to actual software, and then pulling out feature requests and enhancements directly from the audience. To me, our folks that was the coolest thing to see them stand in front of the crowd.
Yeah, I think you're right. And for many of them, it was like the first time they spoke, and there were about 100 people in the room when you think about everybody who was there. I really enjoyed Hugh Palmer, who's one of our customers at Beaver Toyota. I always love hearing him speak. It's almost like being in church. He's got this eloquent style, and he always has a good message. And then for the first time, I got to meet Danelle Delgado, and she basically said something that has stuck with me and that I'm actually trying to live every day. She talked about being unoffendable.
Yeah, we've talked about that a lot here.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's something that I think about every day. And when something happens and I get offended, I say, you need to be unoffendable. Step back and chill out.
To me, the sentiment around being unoffendable is very similar to a Ted Lasso quote, which is actually my favorite quote. I shared it at the event, is be curious, not judgmental. I think the minute that we start feeling judgmental about something, we start judging something, that's where offense comes in. I'm offended, I'm feeling something. But if you're curious, you're gonna learn something along the way, which was really exciting. And I think that we did that great at the conference.
I love that, and I think I'm going to use that.
Yeah.
So what are some of the key things that you think we learned at Unleashed?
Yeah. So first of all, don't mess with the canes. They showed up to compete. We had a couple competitions, a couple activities, and they really killed it. And that was a lot of fun to see them get involved like that, as was everyone. There was also a lot of great tactical knowledge, a lot of functional knowledge, practical advice around pricing, around merchandising, coming from our performance managers, coming from our other dealers. We had dealers stand up and kind of talk about some of the things that they were doing in their dealership that was really innovative. But the thing that I really took away, the thing I learned is that this idea of Team VINCUE that we've been talking about for a long time is very real, right? People showed up because, yes, they wanted to learn about the product and, yes, all those other things, but they wanted to share what they were doing. They wanted to help other dealers solve the problems that they had been through before. We talk a lot about at VINCUE about you can't compete with me because I want us both to win. Right. And that's really the concept behind Team VINCUE. Whether it's a dealer, whether it's an industry partner, thought leader, integration partner, whatever it might be, we're all in this together, and we're all here to help the automotive industry stand tall and continue to compete in this new generation where we know everything is changing so fast.
Right.
We've got national retailers that are bringing all these things to the industry that haven't existed before. So to me, what I really learned was that idea, that concept that we talk about is strong, and you put all those people in one room, it's going to come out in a beautiful way.
Love it. And it did.
And it did, yes.
You know, there were a few surprises, or actually, I'm going to ask you before I get to that, what were some of the things that we heard from dealers in terms of what they learned? Yeah,
so, you know, obviously I'm here to talk about how great the event was, but our dealers, like the feedback we got, has been overwhelmingly positive. You know, I think the one thing we did learn from them was maybe don't put dealers in a room for 10 hours, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. or whatever it was. It was probably a little too long for day one, so don't worry if you're coming next year. That'll be a little bit shorter. But the main takeaway was that what they appreciated was we didn't just come at them to push product and push the software and just train them on that. The whole concept of people, process, and technology we put together in a real way around the program. So in the morning on Tuesday, we really focused on personal development, leadership development, people development. In the afternoon, we really focused on process development. And so what I heard from dealers was talk about the idea that they really appreciated that we wanted to invest in them in a holistic way,
right?
Not just in how we're using your software and how can we use our software more. And I think that was very impactful for them. That's what they told me. So that was really, really good to hear. I also have some actual stats from a dealer that has sent us an email just this week. So we're in early December now. Conference was in early November. We got some information from them, and I'm going to read them right off this cue card. So in November, their dealership hit their second highest sales volume for the year, which was really exciting. They outsold their sister store for the first time this year.
That's great.
Volume was up 40%, gross is up 50%, and they reported an overall improved morale and synergy to their department goals. And according to the dealer, in their words, not mine, this was directly related to the impact that their team had because of Unleashed.
So they were fired up after attending, listening to some of these great speakers, and we've heard from others that said that that they're going to be better people, yes, better husbands, right? Yeah. Do you remember some of those comments?
I was talking to 2 sales managers from a couple franchise dealers down south, and they were talking about how they felt like they were going to be able to be a better store leader. They were going to be able. They understood the system a little bit better, but they felt like some of the things they learned was going to inspire them to be better fathers,
right?
Better husbands, better coaches, all those types of things. And when I kind of pressed them on that, I was like, well, we just want you to be holistic and want you to like a full person kind of leadership. Their response was like, we just don't hear software vendors talking about that. And obviously we don't talk to a ton of other software vendors in our space about that kind of stuff. But I think that's so central to the culture here in this office, and to know that came out in a very real way for our attendees. Man, I can't ask for anything more. So to me, that's a huge win.
One of our CEO / CTO, Chris Hope, is someone who is not someone who steps up to do speaking engagements. He's not very comfortable with it.
Right.
And that's okay, because some people are, some people aren't. But one of the things that surprised me about the conference is he did a session with Danny where they talked about features. He talked about his approach to development. He talked about his focus on dealers and making sure that they succeed. And what surprised me was how comfortable he was up there.
Yeah.
And I think part of it was because he was talking about what he believed.
He talked about what he loves. I mean,
yes.
He loves this, right? You and I both have gotten those texts at 9 p.m., 10 p.m., 11 p.m., Saturday mornings at 8 a.m. The guy just lives and breathes VINCUE, and it's not from just a software standpoint. He really has a tremendous amount of empathy for what happens inside those dealerships, and he just wants to solve those problems. So it was really cool, like you said, to watch him get comfortable in that conversation with Danny and really sort of shine through,
right?
And share the stuff that's coming up, which is what he's really excited about.
Exactly. So Mike, why do you think dealers and partners should attend next year?
Well, so, as good as this year was, and I don't know how we could have made it much better given our first year. Next year, anything that we could improve is going to be improved, and we're going to be bringing more to it. So we're going to have, probably you're going to hear from more of our dealers next year, talking about what they're actually doing in the stores. You'll probably be hearing a little bit more from our performance managers than you did this year, really digging into some of those best practices around acquisition, pricing, merchandising. We're going to bring some more of that strategy to the conversation, as well as, we're going to have more dealers there. You're going to be able to interact and network with more dealers. Our partners are going to continue to show up in interesting ways, and we're going to do that a little bit differently. And then we're going to have fun. We're going to have another social event.
It.
I mean, I think the space we were in was incredible. The hotel was incredible. We went to J. Rieger & Co., local distillery. That was amazing. To see, something like 20 grown men gleefully
go down the slide
at J. Rieger & Co. at the end of the night was pretty amazing. So those are all really great reasons to attend. And if nothing else, it's really to get that sense of what Team VINCUE means. And when you go back to your dealership, you're struggling through putting together your buying plan. You're struggling finding the right inventory. You're struggling with some aged inventory, and you feel like you're alone. We don't want you to feel that way. We want you to know that there's dealers that you can call and text. You can call your performance manager. You can call me. Hell, call
me.
Yeah, Angela's got ideas. Move inventory. So that's the big reason to come, is really to be able to interact, learn from each other, grow as a community, and build that network. And I hope to see everyone there.
Well, can you tell us when Unleash 2024 is going to happen?
Not officially. There's a couple feelers out. We're still trying to figure it out. What I can tell you is that it's going to be early September. So if you're listening to this, you weren't able to join us this year, you're looking forward to next year, put it on your calendar now. Talk to your GM, talk to your owner, whoever it is, and make sure that it's on your calendar and get ready, because it's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, I'll tell you, Kansas City is absolutely beautiful in the fall. So plan a trip. You're going to love it here. It's a great town, and we look forward to seeing all of you here in September.
Thank you so much, Angela.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it. Talk soon.
Yep.